This man has a secret that no one knows. Every morning when he opens his eyes, he becomes a stranger, and he doesn't know what he will look like. As a result, awkward situations often happen to him. When he turns into a handsome young man, he goes on dates with beautiful women, but the next day, he wakes up as an 80-year-old man. What troubles him even more is that sometimes he becomes a woman, a child, or even a foreigner. This causes his clothing choices to be the biggest problem of the day. So, his room is filled with clothes of different genders and sizes, as well as various styles of shoes. This strange condition began when he was 18. One day, he woke up to find himself transformed into an old man. In a panic, he clung to his mother and cried. From then on, every day was the same. Besides his mother, another person who knew the secret was a friend of his. At first, his friend didn't believe that the middle-aged woman was actually him. But when he turned into a beautiful woman, his friend couldn't keep it in anymore.
보여주기만 해. 보면서 혼자 할게. 잠깐만.
Later, they together founded a custom furniture company. He was in charge of design, while his friend handled sales. One day, while browsing for inspiration in a furniture store, he met a saleswoman named Li Xiao. He was deeply attracted by her sweet smile. To see her again, he started visiting the store every day in different appearances. No matter what he turned into, Li Xiao always greeted him kindly. Thus, he grew fonder of this girl. Finally, he made a decision. He decided to confess his feelings to Li Xiao when he became a handsome man. He waited for many days. Finally, the day came. He went to the store, just like usual, and picked out a chair. Li Xiao kindly helped him load it into his car. As she was about to turn away, he couldn't hold back anymore and asked her out to dinner. But Li Xiao, meeting him for the first time, was a bit overwhelmed. She politely declined his offer. But he didn't want to give up this hard-earned opportunity, because he didn't know when he would look this handsome again. He gathered his courage and asked her again. Seeing the sincerity in his eyes, Li Xiao eventually agreed. In the evening, Yuzhen took her to his furniture studio. When she learned that he was a furniture designer, Li Xiao slowly let her guard down, and they had a wonderful conversation. Before leaving, he invited her to meet again the next day. Because they hit it off so well, she gladly agreed. That night, to prevent his appearance from changing, he decided not to sleep. So, he drank large amounts of strong coffee to stay awake. After staying up all night, the next day, he met Li Xiao again. As they interacted, their mutual understanding grew stronger, and Yuzhen felt a happiness he had never felt before. However, the power of love couldn't resist his physical exhaustion. He wanted to ask Li Xiao out for breakfast the next morning, but on his way home on the subway, he could no longer keep himself awake. At the terminal station, a staff member woke him up. By then, he had already transformed into a balding middle-aged man. But in the morning, he still went to their meeting spot. He saw Li Xiao waiting anxiously for him, but in his current form, he dared not approach her. After waiting for a long time, Li Xiao, disappointed, took a taxi and left. For the next few days, he didn't show up again. He didn't know how to explain everything to Li Xiao. Until one day, he couldn't bear it any longer. He transformed into the form of a girl. He decided to confess everything to Li Xiao. He made up an excuse to bring her back to his home, and then told her, "I'm the man you went on a date with a few days ago. What you see now is just because I have a strange illness." He showed Li Xiao the video of himself changing into other appearances. But such an absurd explanation was something she couldn't believe. She thought he was just making up a lie to avoid meeting her. Then, she asked the girl in front of her to tell him not to use such childish tricks to deceive her. She told him to get out of her life and never contact her again. Deep down, Yuzhen had already expected this outcome. A person like him, a freak, wasn't worthy of real love. A few days later, they returned to their separate lives. One day, Li Xiao received a new table at her store. She took a close look and realized it was a design that could insert a phone and play music. And this was the design inspiration she had shared with Yuzhen during their previous date. She never imagined that man would actually follow through. This made Li Xiao's heart waver once again. After some inner conflict, she decided to visit his house. When she pressed the doorbell, the person who opened the door was a stranger with short hair. The girl expressionlessly said, "It's still me." To make her believe him, he asked her to stay with him for the night. The next morning, Li Xiao woke up early to go to the bathroom. She noticed there were 2 sets of toiletries, one for a man, one for a woman. In another room, she discovered all sorts of clothes and shoes. There were items for men, women, and children of all ages. At that moment, a figure slowly walked towards her. Now, he had transformed into a handsome and shy young man. Li Xiao finally realized he wasn't lying. In the following days, as they grew closer, Li Xiao began to develop feelings for him.
이거 그거다. 오늘은 여기까지.
However, this unusual love story started to take a toll on her mental health. She had to adjust to his ever-changing face every day. Over time, her mind grew more and more disoriented and anxious. Her memory also began to fade. She secretly relied on medication to ease her symptoms, but Yujin was unaware of her symptoms. One day, Yujin decided to propose to her, but Li Xiu wasn't as happy as he had expected. Instead, she seemed to be retreating, because she didn't know how much longer she could hold on. The immense mental pressure caused her to faint. When he took her to the hospital, he learned about her condition. The side effects of the medication had caused irreversible damage to her body. He fell into deep guilt. At that moment, he made a decision. When he returned home, he put away the engagement ring. On a snowy night, he decisively broke up with Li Xiu. He didn't want to hurt her anymore. Though it was heartbreaking, he knew it was the best choice. Afterward, he left without looking back. From that point on, Yujin never contacted Li Xiu again. He seemed to have vanished from this world. Li Xiu returned to her normal life. Her health gradually improved, and she no longer relied on the medication. But whenever she walked down the street, she couldn't help but wonder if the person passing by was him. At those times, memories of their time together would flood her heart. As time passed, her longing for Yujin grew with each passing day. She would often see the chairs Yujin had designed for her. It was then that she realized her true feelings for him. And Yujin was in distant Czech Republic at that moment. He continued to live a solitary life, each day appearing in a different guise. Soon after, Li Xiu's manager showed her a newly popular sofa design. At first glance, she recognized it as Yujin work. When she saw it was made in the Czech Republic, she understood everything. A few days later, in a small town in the Czech Republic, Li Xiu mustered the courage to knock on a door. The man who opened it was a handsome Asian man. Looking at her at the door, he seemed to have a lot to say. But in the end, he chose to pretend he didn't know Li Xiu. Li Xiu replied that she just wanted to buy furniture. When she walked inside, she realized everything in the room was familiar. This confirmed for her that this was the man she loved. This time, they would never be apart. And Li Xiu also plucked up the courage.
나랑 결혼할래?
Yujin also brought out the engagement ring he had kept sealed away. The exterior is like the cover of a book, but the key to whether or not to truly love someone for a lifetime lies in the soulful pages deep within the book.